I want to score 100 plus on the TOEFL test. How can I achieve that? The first thing to do is to expand your vocabulary. Take a look at this TOEFL reading passage from the official ETS free practice test. We analyzed this test in previous videos. If you take a closer look now, you'll notice that it has a lot of advanced vocabulary. It includes general advanced vocabulary, which are words that can be used in many different contexts. For example, argue, alteration, off and on, extensive, and conventional. These are the words you should 100% know to score high on the test and answer questions quickly. I have a separate video dedicated to 157 general advanced words, so if you haven't watched it yet, feel free to check it out. The second type of vocabulary in this text is advanced technical vocabulary. This passage contains vocabulary from a few disciplines. They are geology, climatology, biology, zoology, and astronomy. For example, words like paleontologists, plate tectonics, seafloor sediments, Cretaceous are from geology. Words such as seaways, ocean basins, climatic changes, temperature changes would be commonly used in climatology. Some terms from biology and zoology are cold-blooded animals, warm-blooded animals, lizards, reptiles, while astronomy vocabulary includes words such as meteorites, solar system, and asteroid. Without knowing these words, it will be very difficult to understand the text and focus on the information in front of you. So in this video, we're going to talk about 3 disciplines that often appear on the TOEFL test. They are astronomy, zoology, and biology. Watch carefully and note how many words you know. Then write your results in the comments below. For example, 160 out of 171. When you get to the end of the video, do some reading and listening practice tests. You'll definitely see many of the words we've covered today. Without further ado, let's get started. 170 words to know for the TOEFL test. Let's explore 22 essential astronomy terms that might come up on your TOEFL exam. We'll start with simpler terms and then move on to more complex ones. Ready to expand your cosmic vocabulary? Let's launch into it. The first word is celestial. The term describes anything related to the sky or outer space. For example, celestial bodies include stars, planets, and moons. A typical sentence on TOEFL reading might be, the study of celestial phenomena, such as eclipses and comets, can reveal much about the universe. Here, celestial is used to describe objects related to outer space. So remember, anything celestial has to do with space. The next word is orbital. It refers to the path that a celestial body, again a star, a planet, or a moon, takes around another object. For instance, Earth's orbital path around the Sun is elliptical. The orbital period of a planet refers to the time it takes to complete one full orbit around the Sun. Moving on to comets. A comet is a small celestial body made of ice and dust that orbits the Sun. When it comes close to the Sun, it forms a glowing tail. So, a celestial body made of ice with a glowing tail is a comet. Let's look at a sample sentence. Comets, such as Halley's Comet, have highly elliptical orbits that bring them close to the Sun at regular intervals. Now, let's talk about black holes. A black hole is a region in space where gravity is so intense that nothing, not even light, can escape. You've probably seen this term used in many movies about space, such as Interstellar. Let me know in the comments below if you've seen this movie. If not, make sure you do. It's a great film that will teach you many terms related to space and astronomy. An example using this word is, the discovery of a supermassive black hole at the center of galaxies has provided insights into the formation of galaxies. The next word is galaxy. A galaxy is a massive system of stars, star clusters, planets, and dust bound together by gravity. Our galaxy is called the Milky Way. The Milky Way contains hundreds of billions of stars and is just one of many galaxies in the universe. By the way, you just heard me say another interesting word, star clusters. What is a star cluster? This is our next term. A cluster is a group of similar things or people that are very close together. So a star cluster is a group of stars that are gravitationally bound together. A typical star cluster would look like this. Supernova. A supernova is a massive explosion that occurs when a star exhausts its fuel and collapses. For those who don't know, to collapse means to fall down or subside. When a star runs out of fuel, it can no longer support itself against the gravitational pull. This causes the core to contract or collapse, leading to the supernova explosion as the outer layers are violently ejected into space. For example, the light from a supernova can temporarily outshine an entire galaxy, providing critical data for astronomers. Now, let's look at the word asteroid. An asteroid is a small rocky body that orbits the Sun. Asteroids can vary in size from a few meters to hundreds of kilometers in diameter. On the TOEFL listening, you might be asked, what role do asteroids play in our understanding of the early solar system? Remember in one of our previous videos, I mentioned how one of my students improved his reading scores by learning technical vocabulary. This is the kind of vocabulary you should learn. Choose the most common topics that appear on the TOEFL test. Then, review their basic terms. You don't need to memorize tons of words. 15 to 20 key terms are usually enough. To get a better understanding of these words, read a few articles or watch videos in Crash Course or other educational channels. It's more effective than just learning translations in your native language. This approach will definitely help you on your TOEFL test. For biology, I highly recommend checking out the Amoeba Sisters channel. Another important point is understanding the types of questions for each section and knowing how to approach them effectively. Often, students can understand most of the text in the reading section, but still end up with a score of 22 to 23. Some may know almost every word in the listening section, but get fluctuating scores ranging from 21 to 28. To score consistently high, you need to know exactly what to do in each question type and how to get to the right answers as quickly as possible. In our TOEFL prep course, we'll go over reading passages together, review strategies for the listening section, share high-scoring templates for writing and speaking, and more. You can find the link to the course below. If you want feedback on your writing and speaking, consider the Pro package, but be sure to schedule the consultation at least a week before the test, so you have time to apply the corrections I will suggest. Word number 9 is nebula. A nebula is a large cloud of gas and dust in space where new stars often form. Let's look at sample sentences that use this word. The Crab Nebula, a remnant of a supernova explosion observed in 1054, is one of the most studied objects in the night sky. 2 of our new words in one sentence: nebula and supernova. The bright colors of the nebula are caused by different gases emitting light at different wavelengths. A nebula and a supernova are the words that people often confuse. To avoid this, remember that a nebula is a place where stars are born, and a supernova is a powerful explosion that marks the end of a star's life. The next 3 words are also often confused by students. They are meteoroid, meteor, and meteorite. We've already discussed asteroids, which are rocky bodies that orbit the Sun. A meteoroid is a smaller fragment that breaks off from an asteroid and travels through space. So it's generally smaller than an asteroid. When a meteoroid enters Earth's atmosphere, it becomes a meteor. As it travels through the atmosphere, it produces a bright streak of light and is often called a shooting star or falling star. Finally, if a meteor survives its passage through the atmosphere and lands on Earth's surface, it's called a meteorite. So, a meteorite is essentially a piece of a meteoroid that has made it through the atmosphere and landed on the ground. Let's summarize the sequence. An asteroid can break up into smaller pieces called meteoroids, which then become meteors as they enter the atmosphere. And if they reach Earth's surface, they are called meteorites. A few sample sentences. The bright meteor that appeared in the night sky was a spectacular sight for stargazers. Meteor showers are often named after the constellation from which they appear to radiate. In the last sentence, we had two more terms that are important for the TOEFL test. They are meteor showers and constellation. A meteor shower happens when many meteors enter Earth's atmosphere and create bright streaks of light in the sky. It looks like a shower of shooting stars. Many people around the world watch meteor showers, and they are popular events for stargazers and astronomy enthusiasts. Another word on our list is constellation. A constellation is something else that people like to look at in the night sky. It's a group of stars that form a recognizable pattern. There are a lot of constellations in the sky. Let me know your favorite constellation in the comments below. Some sample sentences. The ancient Greeks named many constellations after mythological figures and stories important to their culture. Navigators used constellations to find their way across the oceans before modern instruments were invented. Number 15 is light year. A light year is the distance that light travels in 1 year. For example, the Andromeda galaxy is about 2.5 million light years from Earth. After a TOEFL lecture on astronomy, you might be asked, how is the concept of a light year used to measure distances in space? The next two terms are my favorites. They are red giant and white dwarf. A red giant is a huge star that has expanded and cooled down after using up the hydrogen fuel in its core. The core is the center of a star. It appears red and is much larger than it was in the earlier stages. Now, a white dwarf is a small, very dense star that is left after a star like the Sun has used up all its fuel and shed its outer layers. It's not very bright and it cools gradually over time. So let's recap. A red giant is a large, luminous star in the late stages of its evolution. A white dwarf is a star that was once a big star, but now is a tiny, dense remnant. Lunar eclipse. A lunar eclipse happens when Earth comes between the Sun and the Moon, blocking the Sun's light from reaching the Moon. As a result, Earth casts a shadow on the Moon. During a total lunar eclipse, the Moon can turn a reddish color, which is sometimes called a blood moon. There is also a solar eclipse, which happens when the Moon moves between Earth and the Sun, blocking the Sun's light. It can make it look like the Sun is partially or completely covered. So, lunar refers to the Moon, while solar refers to the Sun. You'll often find these words on the reading and listening sections of the TOEFL. For example, lunar surface, lunar phases, lunar craters, solar system, solar flares, solar wind. Another word on our list is luminosity. Luminosity in astronomy refers to how bright a star or other celestial object is. It helps astronomers understand how much energy a star produces and can also give clues about its size and stage in its life cycle. For example, a star with high luminosity is much brighter and emits more energy than a star with low luminosity. 21. Stellar. This term refers to stars. For instance, stellar evolution refers to the life cycle of stars. A stellar wind is a flow of charged particles that are emitted from the outer layers of a star. There is also the adjective interstellar, which means between stars or occurring in the space between stars. It describes anything related to the regions of space that lie between individual stars in a galaxy. For example, interstellar dust and gas contribute to the formation of new stars and planetary systems. The spacecraft is designed to travel through interstellar space once it leaves our solar system. These are 22 astronomy terms to help you succeed on the TOEFL exam. There are a couple of effective ways to learn new words. First, it's really helpful to study them in context. I usually suggest checking out science websites made for kids. They break down difficult concepts in a fun and simple way. You can try out the Ology website or the Ducksters website. Another great method is to take lots of vocabulary tests. When you continually answer questions and see the same words come up again and again, they'll quickly stick in your mind. One of the best feelings is when you start noticing these words in practice tests. For vocabulary tests, you can use the TOEFL Prep app. There, you choose the words you want to learn and start practicing. The app also has full reading tests, where you can practice the vocabulary you learned. I recommend that you study 20 to 30 words and then take a practice test. Then study another 20 to 30 words and take another test. This way, you can track your progress and really lock in those new words. I'll leave the link in the description below, so you can check it out and let me know what you think. So let's dive right into zoology. Zoology is a branch of biology that focuses on the study of animals. We'll look at 109 words from this field that you need to know for the TOEFL test. To help you memorize the zoology vocabulary better, we've created a small PDF with all the words I cover in this lesson. You can pause the video now and download it by clicking on the link down below. That way, you won't have to write down all the words, and you'll have extra help as you watch the rest of the episode. In today's list, I've included many animals that often appear on the TOEFL test. We won't focus much on them because knowing these words isn't a must. However, they will definitely make taking the test a lot easier. For example, in the speaking section, you may be asked to summarize a lecture about bobcats. If you've no idea what a bobcat is, it may be more difficult for you to understand the lecture and answer the question. Now, if you know that a bobcat is an animal in the cat family that looks like this, you'll understand the lecture better. So for animals, we're going to have little picture quizzes. You'll see pictures of animals changing one by one, and your task will be to guess what these animals are. Let's dive right in. Let's begin with the classes of animals. When classifying animals, scientists divide them into two groups: invertebrates, which is our first word, and vertebrates, the second word on our list. Invertebrates are animals without a backbone. They can live on land, like insects, spiders, and worms, or in water. Some examples of invertebrates are, and now it's time for your first vocabulary test. Look at the pictures and name the animals you see. I'll give you the correct word in a few seconds. Sea anemones. Sea urchins. Crayfish. Termites. Snails. All of these animals are invertebrates. By the way, don't forget to keep track of how many words you know, and then share your results at the end of the video. For example, 75 out of 109, or 100 out of 109. The next word is arthropods. An arthropod is an invertebrate animal with no internal spine. A spine is a backbone that vertebrates have, a body made of segments joined together, and a hard covering, like a shell. Arthropods include insects and similar creatures. Spiders are a common example of arthropods. Other typical examples of arthropods are dragonflies, ants, beetles, ladybugs, flies, shrimp, and grasshoppers. Back to vertebrates. These are animals with a backbone. They include mammals. Mammals are warm-blooded animals that have fur or hair, give birth to live offspring, with a few exceptions, and produce milk to feed their young. Time for a quick vocabulary quiz. A hamster, a whale, a bat, a giraffe, and even a human are all mammals. Polar bears, orcas, Sloths are those slow-moving mammals known for their relaxed, laid-back lifestyle. Meerkats. Now, all mammals are vertebrates, but not all vertebrates are mammals. Birds are also vertebrates. How would you call this bird? It's an eagle. And this one? It's a hawk. Owl. Falcon. Ostrich. Raven. Vertebrates also include reptiles, which are cold-blooded animals with scaly skin. Some examples are snakes, lizards, reptiles that have scales for skin, a long body, a pointed tail, and usually 4 legs. Turtles, tortoises, crocodiles, and alligators. Here's an interesting question for you. What's the difference between a turtle and a tortoise? Turtles live mostly in water, such as ponds, rivers, and oceans, but some species can also live on land. Tortoises, on the other hand, are primarily land dwellers, often found in dry or grassy areas. Turtles spend most of their time in water and come ashore mainly to lay eggs. Now, tortoises spend their entire lives on land, in burrows or under rocks to stay cool. One important note, as I always say, knowing a lot of words is a great help on your TOEFL test, but it's not enough to get a 100 or higher. If you really want to score high, you should know the question strategies and, most importantly, use them effectively. Recently, I've been busy with consultations after our TOEFL prep course and my one-on-one sessions, and since I'm always analyzing the mistakes my students make, I've once again come to the conclusion that most students only need to change a few minor things to get the score they really need. Instead, they spend time, money, and effort retaking the test over and over again, trying to get their target score. For example, most students usually come to our sessions with a score of 22 to 23 on the speaking test. Not because they have a poor level of English, but because they're so worried about following all the rules that when they start to speak, they stutter, hesitate, and produce the worst possible answers. The same goes for reading. Most of the students I see in my sessions are well aware of the strategies for each question. Yet, they don't use those strategies well enough to find the right answers quickly. So we have to go through each question type together, and then they start getting high scores. So, if you're struggling with any section of the test, you can take our TOEFL course, where we'll teach you all the skills you need to finally ace the TOEFL test. The link is below. As always, if you choose the Pro package with a post-course consultation, be sure to schedule it at least a week before the test. That way, you'll have time to implement all the corrections I've made. Amphibians are another class of vertebrates. These are animals that can live in water and on land. A typical amphibian is a cold-blooded vertebrate that is born in water and breathes with gills. This is another word from our list. Gills look like this. As amphibians grow, their lungs develop, so that they can also live on land. Some examples of amphibians are frogs and toads. Frogs are smooth and slimy, with long legs, while toads are bumpy, dry-skinned, with shorter legs. Finally, fish are aquatic vertebrates, with gills and fins. We've already discussed what gills are. Now this is how fins look. Time for another small animal vocabulary test. Clownfish. It's a swordfish. This is a herring. A seahorse. A trout. The first block of our lecture covered. Congratulations! Now, you may ask yourself, do I really need all these words? Will they be used on the TOEFL? The answer is of course. Just recently, I was going through a reading passage that mentioned the invertebrate fauna. So, let's keep going. A few other words to know are specimen. A specimen is a sample of something, such as a specimen of blood or body tissue taken for medical testing. In zoology, this word means a sample or example of an animal, often used in scientific studies. For example, a specimen of an African lion might be used to study its anatomy, behavior, or genetics. Again, a few days ago, I was analyzing a TOEFL lecture with one of my students, and there was a part about a rare insect specimen. Let's continue. Animals can be warm-blooded or cold-blooded. Warm-blooded animals are those that can maintain a nearly constant body temperature, regardless of the environment in which they live. They can also be called endotherms. Remember that endotherms are warm-blooded animals. For example, mammals and birds are endotherms. Now, cold-blooded animals are those that rely on the outside environment to regulate their body temperature. They're also called ectotherms. Ectotherms are cold-blooded animals. Some examples of ectotherms are reptiles, amphibians, and fish, which are the words we already know. Great job! The TOEFL integrated writing task likes to explore the topic of endotherms and ectotherms, and you'll often find these words in reading passages and lectures. So I suggest you write them down if you haven't heard them before. Animals can also be diurnal and nocturnal. Diurnal animals are those that are active during the day. For example, lions, squirrels, cheetahs. Nocturnal animals, as you may have guessed, are active during the night. Some common examples of nocturnal animals are owls, hedgehogs, raccoons, and bats. So diurnal is active during the day, and nocturnal is active during the night. When studying animals, scientists also examine their dietary habits. Animals can be herbivores. These are animals that eat mostly plants. Some examples of herbivores are a kangaroo, a hippopotamus, a rhinoceros, or a rhino. Carnivores. These are animals that eat other animals. Examples: anteaters, sharks, tigers, wolves. Omnivores are animals that eat both plants and animals. Some examples of omnivores are wild boars, bears, skunks, and of course humans. On the TOEFL, you'll often see mentions of carnivores, omnivores, and herbivores in lectures and reading passages. You may also see adjectives: carnivorous, omnivorous, and herbivorous. For example, carnivorous plants, herbivorous animals. If you've taken TOEFL speaking tests, you definitely see in question 4 about carnivorous plants. Now, you know that carnivorous plants are plants that catch and eat animals, usually insects, to get nutrients. When we looked at the examples of omnivores, we saw the word wild boars. Boars are wild animals. Animals can be wild or domesticated. Domesticated animals are animals that have been bred and trained by humans over generations to live with and be useful to people. Let's test how well you know domesticated animals. Some typical domesticated animals are a hen, an ox, a yak, a calf, a donkey, a cow. Now, a few wild animals are leopards. Note the pronunciation, leopard. Stags, which are male deer, and beavers. Speaking of beavers, they are rodents. This is another word you'll see a lot on the TOEFL. Rodents are mammals that have a single pair of sharp incisors, which are narrow-edged teeth at the front of their mouth, in both the upper and lower jaws. Mice, rats, squirrels, beavers, and hamsters are all rodents. So, when you hear the word rodent, remember that it's a small animal with sharp teeth. Rodents are primarily prey rather than predators. They are often hunted by various predators, including birds of prey, such as hawks and owls, carnivorous mammals, such as foxes, and even larger reptiles, like snakes. As you can see, you already know so many words. Hawks, owls, reptiles. What about prey and predators? Animals that are hunted and eaten by other animals are called prey. For example, hares are a typical example of prey. Predators are animals that hunt and eat other animals, such as wolves. Finally, let's talk about habitats. Habitats are places where animals live. Your habitat is the environment you're used to living in. Habitats can be aquatic or terrestrial. Aquatic animals live in water. Now, terrestrial animals live on land. Aquatic habitats include freshwater environments, such as lakes, rivers, or ponds, and saltwater environments, such as oceans. Freshwater animals include fish, such as trout, amphibians, such as frogs, and insects, such as water striders. Saltwater animals include sea anemones and jellyfish. Other aquatic animals include oysters, sea otters, rays, seahorses, seals, clams, squid, and sea lions. On the TOEFL, you may also find a collocation, marine animals. These animals live in the ocean or sea, not in freshwater. They're a subset of aquatic animals, but are found only in saltwater environments. Marine animals include a wide range of species, such as sharks, clownfish, whales, dolphins, seals, and starfish. Simply put, while all marine animals are aquatic, not all aquatic animals are marine. Aquatic animals can live in either fresh or salt water, while marine animals are adapted to ocean environments. Speaking of terrestrial or land animals, we've already covered many of them. Two more examples that I think are interesting to mention are a moose and a gazelle. As you can see, habitats are different environments where animals live. Some typical habitats are freshwater habitats, deserts, grasslands, wetlands, estuaries, rainforests, oceans, savannas, and coastal habitats. Ready for one last animal vocabulary check? What's this animal called? A humpback whale. All of you have probably done the integrated essay about humpback whales. If you haven't, try it. You can find it on the KMF platform, TPO 49. The next one is vultures. Amoeba. There is a cool YouTube channel called the Amoeba Sisters that I highly recommend to improve your biology vocabulary. They explain difficult concepts in a fun and easy to understand way. A baleen whale. The last animal for today is a bobcat. Congratulations! As you can see, we're closing this episode with the same word we started with. If you want to have all the words in one place, use the link below to download our free PDF file. These are 109 zoology words that will definitely help you succeed on your TOEFL test. Now it's time to practice. I highly recommend that you take a few practice TOEFL tests, and I'm 100% sure you'll see many of these words on the reading, listening, writing, and speaking sections of the exam. Today it's time to delve into the field of biology and discuss 40 words related to the subject that often appear on the TOEFL test. Let me know how many words you know in the comments below, and write winner if you know them all. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to get more TOEFL tips and tricks, and click the bell icon to get notified when the next video comes out. Let's get started. Let's begin with enzymes. Enzymes are proteins that speed up chemical reactions in your body. They are needed whenever your body or cells are doing a chemical reaction. For example, enzymes are essential for digesting food. They break down nutrients into smaller molecules that your body can absorb. They help speed up all these reactions, and without enzymes, many vital processes would be too slow to keep people healthy. 2. Symbiosis. Symbiosis is a close relationship between two different species, where they live together and can help each other. For example, bees and flowers. Bees collect nectar from flowers to make honey, which provides them with food. In the process, bees help pollinate flowers, which allows flowers to reproduce. This is symbiosis because both bees and flowers benefit from the interaction. 3. Receptor. A structure in a cell that receives signals. This word is often used in the TOEFL reading passages. For example, I've recently worked with the passage about infrared receptors in snakes. Let's look at the first sentence of this passage. It's thought that the facial pits, or pit organs, on the head of some snakes are specialized infrared heat receptors. So, an infrared receptor is a specialized sensory organ that detects heat emitted by warm-blooded animals. They are located in the pit organs of the head of the snake and allow the snake to find its prey, even in total darkness, which is very helpful when hunting. 4. Mitosis. This word also appears frequently in biology texts and lectures. It's a process of cell division in which the parent cell makes two new daughter cells, each with the same number of chromosomes as the parent. To do this, it goes through several different phases to divide and then rebuild the chromosomes. Simply put, mitosis is a way cells divide. 5. Genome. The complete set of DNA, genetic material of an organism. For example, a human genome is all the DNA found in a human cell. It has about 20,000 to 25,000 genes spread across 23 pairs of chromosomes. These genes contain the instructions that are necessary to build and maintain a human being. 6. Stimulus. Anything that causes a response in an organism. For example, light is a stimulus that makes a plant grow toward it. The plural of stimulus is stimuli. In the text about snakes that I've just mentioned, there was a part about a variety of stimuli, such as sound, vibration, or light of moderate intensity. So remember, stimulus, stimuli. If you feel that many of the words we've just covered are unfamiliar to you, it means that your technical vocabulary needs to be expanded. Study subjects such as biology, geology, history, zoology, geography, psychology, astronomy, art, and anthropology. Learn the most basic terms in each field, and then do lots of reading to not only memorize these words, but also to learn about the subject. You can also use the vocabulary lists for different topics that we have created in our TOEFL prep course. They contain the most important words you'll see on the TOEFL test. And remember that a large vocabulary is only half of your TOEFL score. The other half is knowing the right strategies, avoiding panic, and being able to adapt your strategies quickly, depending on the question. You can find all of this in our TOEFL prep course. So if your exam is coming up and you want feedback on the writing and speaking sections, feel free to check it out. I'll leave the link in the description below. Let's move on. 7. Estrogen. A hormone that controls female reproductive functions and affects other processes in the body. The next word in our list is mutation. A mutation is a change in DNA that can create new traits or cause health problems. There is also the verb to mutate. Cells can mutate at different times and due to different factors. 9. Photosynthesis. This is one of the most common biology words on the TOEFL test. As you probably all know, Photosynthesis is the process plants use to convert sunlight into energy. Plants use photosynthesis to make their own food from sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide. 10. Cellular respiration, the process by which cells make energy from food. The adjective cellular means related to the cells of a plant or animal. As we've just discussed, cellular respiration is how cells get energy from food. So, what happens during this process? Cells take in nutrients from the food you eat, such as sugars. Inside the cell, these nutrients and oxygen are combined in a process that creates energy. This energy is then used by the cell to perform its functions, like moving, growing, or dividing. The process also produces waste products, like carbon dioxide and water, that the cell needs to get rid of. So, cellular respiration is like a mini power plant inside your cells that turns food and oxygen into the energy your body needs to work. 11. Homeostasis. Homeostasis is how your body maintains a stable internal environment, like keeping your body temperature just right. For example, if you get too hot, your body sweats to cool down. If you are too cold, your body shivers to produce heat. Both of these actions help keep your body temperature stable. 12. Chloroplast. A chloroplast is the part of a plant cell where photosynthesis takes place, converting sunlight into food. The next two words are genotype and phenotype. The difference between genotype and phenotype is what is encoded in your genes versus what you can actually see or experience. The genotype is the specific set of genes that an organism has. For example, if a person has the genetic code for blue eyes, that code is their genotype. It's the genetic information they inherit from their parents. Now, the phenotype is the observable traits or characteristics of an organism that results from the interaction between the genotype and the environment. The actual blue eye color that you see in a person is their phenotype. It's how the genotype manifests itself in the physical appearance or behavior of the organism. In short, genotype is about the genetic code, like genes for eye color. Phenotype is about the physical expression of that code. For example, having blue eyes. The next two words are eukaryotes and prokaryotes. Eukaryotes and prokaryotes are two basic types of cells that differ mainly in their internal structures. Eukaryotes are cells with a nucleus and other specialized parts, like those in plants and animals. Prokaryotes are simpler cells without a nucleus, such as bacteria. Eukaryotes are more complex and larger, while prokaryotes are smaller and less complex. 17. Speciation. Speciation is the process by which new species form, often when populations separate and evolve differently. On the TOEFL, you'll often see this word in reading passages and hear it in lectures. For example, on the Galapagos Islands, different bird species evolved from a common ancestor. Each species adapted to different food sources and environments, resulting in variations in beak size and shape. 18. Amino acids. Amino acids are the basic building blocks of proteins, which are important for cell structure and function. Another word is lipids. These are fats and oils that store energy and are important components of cell membranes. 20. Neurons. Neurons are nerve cells that carry messages throughout the body, helping with thoughts, feelings, and movement. For example, neurons transmit electrical signals between the brain, spinal cord, and other parts of the body, allowing us to think, feel, and control movement. Another word we'll cover today is cortisol. You've probably heard this word before. Cortisol is a hormone released during stress that helps your body cope with challenging situations. Some typical sentences using this word are: when you're stressed, your body produces more cortisol to help you cope. Over time, high levels of cortisol can lead to health problems, such as high blood pressure and weakened immune function. 22. Anaerobic. Processes that occur without oxygen. For example, anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic means without oxygen. Anaerobic bacteria, unlike humans, don't need oxygen to survive. 23. Secrete. To secrete means to produce and release a liquid. I've heard this word used a few times on TOEFL speaking. There was a lecture in question 4 that mentioned that some plants secrete a sticky substance. So remember, when a cell or gland releases a substance, such as sweat or saliva, to perform a specific function, we can use the verb to secrete. 24. RNA, a molecule involved in protein synthesis and gene expression. 25. DNA, the molecule that carries genetic information. 26. Moisture, a liquid such as water in the form of very small droplets, either in the air, in a substance, or on the surface. For example, a rich soil retains moisture. 27. Foliage, the leaves of a plant. 28. Hibernation, a period of rest in some animals during the winter to conserve energy when food is scarce. This word is very common in TOEFL lectures. One of the lectures I like to analyze with my students is about hibernation. We can also use the verb to hibernate, which means to go into a deep sleep during the winter. Animals like bears, hedgehogs, and chipmunks hibernate in winter. Another word to discuss is the verb to forage. It means to look for food in the wild. A forager is someone who searches for food. Humans can also be foragers. Historically, early human societies were hunter-gatherers who foraged for nuts, seeds, and other edible plants, as well as hunted animals. Even today, some people practice foraging as a hobby. Foragers may gather wild mushrooms, berries, herbs, and other natural foods. Now, foraging refers to the act of searching for and collecting wild food resources. The next word is scavenger. It's an animal that eats dead plants or animals, helping to clean up the environment. Some examples of scavengers are vultures and ravens. As unpleasant as scavenging may seem, it's important to remember that scavengers play a crucial role in ecosystems by helping to recycle nutrients and reduce the spread of disease. 31. Internal. Internal means happening or existing inside. For example, internal mechanisms or processes occur within an organism. Digestion is an internal process. Now, external is existing or happening outside a person, a company, a place, or a country. Factors or stimuli that come from outside an organism are called external. 33. Species. A species is a distinct group of animals or plants that share common characteristics and can interbreed. Your poodle and your bulldog are the same species, but your hamster and your goldfish are not. The next two words are food web and food chain. A food web is a network of who eats whom in an ecosystem, showing how energy moves through living things. Now, a food chain is a sequence of organisms where each one is eaten by the next, starting with plants. Food chains and food webs often appear in TOEFL lectures and integrated speaking tasks. The next word is ecosystem. I've already used it a few times in this video. It's a community of living things, such as plants and animals, that interact with each other and their environment, such as air, water, and soil. It's like a complex web where everything depends on everything else. 37. Heterotroph. A heterotroph is an animal that can't make its own food supply, so it must eat other things, such as plants or other animals, to survive. Humans are heterotrophs because we eat plants or meat to stay alive. There are 3 types of heterotrophs: herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores. Herbivores eat grass, carnivores eat other animals, and omnivores eat both. 38. Autotroph. Plants that produce their own food are called autotrophs. Plants, algae, and some bacteria are autotrophs and form the basis of food chain. 39. Crustacean. A crustacean is a member of class of arthropods that live in water. These aquatic animals have exoskeletons. Some of your favorite seafood comes from crustaceans: crabs, lobsters, and shrimp. If you don't know the words arthropods or aquatic, you should check out the previous episode where we talked about zoology vocabulary. Finally, the last word is biodiversity. Biodiversity is a shortened form of 2 words: biological diversity. Biological refers to the study of life forms. Diversity means many and different. When you have many animals or plants living in one place, you have biodiversity. For example, Scientists believe that the deep ocean may be as rich in biodiversity as the planet's tropical rainforests. These are 40 biology words you'll see a lot on the TOEFL test. Knowing them will help you understand passages and lectures. These are 171 technical terms to help you ace the TOEFL test. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon for more TOEFL tips and tricks. Remember, scoring 100 plus on the TOEFL test isn't rocket science. It's the little things you do that make all the difference. As always, I wish you all a stellar TOEFL score. See you next time. Bye-bye.